Understanding motivation. Everything that our dogs do is based on motivation. They're either motivated to access something pleasant or they're motivated to prevent something unpleasant. And the nice thing is we get to determine what motivating factors can get our dogs to do the behaviors that we like. So we have food as a primary reinforcement. We talked about this a little bit before. Toys and affection. These are going to be positive motivating factors. But not all food is equal. Not all toys are equal. And every dog has different levels of motivation. Now they have different levels of motivation for rewards, and they have different levels of motivation for corrections. This is a great analogy I'd love to tell people. Imagine you're speeding on the highway and a police officer pulls you over and he writes you a 25-cent speeding ticket. The moment he turns a corner, you're running late, off you go, right? The correction was not high enough to curb the behavior. But let's say on the other extreme end of the spectrum, he pulls you over and he writes you a $500,000 speeding ticket. You're never going to drive again. You're going to avoid the behavior completely. This is an avoidance level correction. This is a correction so high, you avoid the behavior entirely. Now let's say he pulls you over and writes you a $200 speeding ticket. That's enough to get you to slow down without getting you to avoid the behavior of driving. And it's the same when we're working with our dogs. Now it goes on the positive side as well. Let's say I told you that I wanted you to dig a swimming pool and it's going to take you 5 days and I want you to dig it by hand. And I told you I'm going to pay you 20 bucks. You're probably not going to do it. But let's say for those 5 days, I'm going to pay you $2,000. You might be a little bit more motivated to do the behavior. It's the same with the dogs, right? Everything that they do is based on these factors. So if I want my dog to sit and my dog has a really full belly and I'm trying to get him to work for his kibble, he's probably not going to want to sit. He already has a full stomach. He doesn't want the kibble. So our pure positive or reward-based training is based on how much does the dog want the reward. Right? We also have perseverance. Each dog has their own level of perseverance. This is why dogs such as the Malinois or the Dutch Shepherd have become such a popular dog breed, because a lot of these dogs have really, really high levels of perseverance, meaning they will continue to work for something even if they don't get the reward. Some dogs may quit early. If I'm working with a dog that may not have that high of perseverance, I'm going to reward the dog throughout the process. I want them to get all these little wins in order to increase their likelihood to try to get that reward because they've been successful. If I'm trying to get a dog, for example, to spin in an entire circle, very first time, and that dog doesn't have a lot of perseverance, and I go to guide the dog in the circle and the dog goes a little bit, they don't get the treat, so they give up and they go back to facing forward. That dog I might have to reward multiple times to get them to do the full circle so they know there is that possibility to get the reward. So you're going to have to read your dog. How much perseverance does your dog have and how much do they like the reward that you're using to get them to perform the behavior? So if you're using toys now, in the very beginning, if I'm teaching a dog new behaviors, I like to use food to get them to do those behaviors because I can use food as a technique to lure them into a sit, lure them into a down, lure them into these different positions that I want them to perform. Once the dog knows the behavior, then I can start using toys to get them to perform these behaviors because I've already taught it. Now I'm just reinforcing it. We have what's called proactive dogs and we have what's called reactive dogs. When I first start working with somebody, they always ask, do I always have to reward my dog? Do I always have to give them a treat? And then I say, do you always have to be paid a paycheck to go to work? Do you always expect money when you provide labor for something or someone? They say yes. I'm like, it's the same with the dogs. But in the beginning, just like when we're working with a young kid, if you have a child that you're working with, you may give him or her $1 for taking out the trash. You may give them $1 for doing the dishes. You're adding that positive reinforcement to get them to do those behaviors, and you're rewarding them on each one because they're still so young. But as they get older, now they start to get a weekly allowance. And then when they move on to the corporate world, now they're getting paid once every 2 weeks. Or some of my friends, they get paid once every 3 months, right? They're still getting paid, but the reward becomes spaced out. And it's the same with our dogs. And there's a very simple way to do this. When I first start working with a dog, I'm going to reward them for every single behavior that they perform. So this is called continual reinforcement. Sit, yes, reward. Down, yes, reward. Come, yes, reward. I'm rewarding every behavior. But I want to start spacing it out. In the beginning, you are a vending machine. Every single dollar that your dog puts into that vending machine, they're getting their bag of chips. But eventually, you want to transition into that slot machine. Every time they put money in, they may not win, but they have to believe that there's a possibility that they're going to win. And the way that we do this when we're spacing out the rewards is, in the very beginning, we reward every behavior. Once the dog starts to perform the behavior without our physical cues, so if I tell the dog sit and the dog sits, I don't have to lift my hand or do anything like that. I can stand with my arms crossed, I can tell the dog to sit, boom, the dog sits. I tell the dog to down, no physical cue, I don't have to point to the ground or anything like that, and the dog lays down, right? Then I'm going to start spacing out the rewards, but I'm still going to give my dog some verbal feedback. So I might say, sit, good boy, nice job, very good. Down, good. Come, yes, reward, right? And I'm going to reward the dog every now and then, and I'm giving them feedback so it doesn't go from getting a reward after every single behavior, and now I'm telling them sit down and they're not getting anything. They're going to shut down really quickly. They have to know that you're happy, you're giving them that verbal praise, but then you're still going to reward them. And I'll usually do this for a few weeks. Then what I want to do is I want to start removing the verbal praise on some of the commands. What I mean by that is I tell the dog to sit, no verbal praise, and that's a very easy command. Then I tell the dog to down, good, nice job, good girl. I tell the dog to climb, she goes on her climb, good girl, very nice. I tell the dog to down again, no verbal praise. I tell the dog to come, yes, reward, right? So on some of them, I'm giving them verbal praise, and on some I'm not, and then on some I'm giving the actual reward. And I'll do that for a little while. And then eventually it gets to the point where I can say sit, down, come, heel, spin, roll over, play dead, yes, reward. And that way we're really spacing it out. And this is because our dogs don't do things just to please us. They do things for the possibility of getting a reward or preventing something unpleasant. And it's the same reason why most people choose not to rob the bank. The motivation not to go to jail overrides the motivation to make a quick buck, right? So if our dog is doing certain behaviors, we always have to think about what is motivating them. Are they more motivated to access something pleasant, or are they more motivated to prevent something unpleasant? And understanding this is going to make your training much easier. Hey guys, I just want to say thanks for watching my dog training videos. There's still a lot to come, some really great content, and this is my basic through advanced dog training series. So if you want to take your dog to that next level, if you've just been trying to learn how to train your dog to perform basic, reliable commands, this series is going to help you do that. If there's a certain video that you want to see, if there's something that you've been struggling with, let me know in the comments below, and I'll be sure to add that video to my list of videos that I will be making for you guys. So again, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.